Today we're ditching the box brownies and we are making homemade chocolatey brownies with delicious homemade caramel loaded with nuts if you like nuts. So if you're interested, please keep watching. So in your bowl, you want to add your dry ingredients. What I have here is 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/2 a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 a teaspoon of baking powder, and I just gave that a good mix. Then I went in with 2/3 cup of pure baking cocoa powder. I like to sift my dry ingredients because there's always clumps. As you can see, you see the clumps of cocoa in there. You don't want clumps of things, especially clumps of baking powder or clumps of cocoa. You don't want that. So just throw those out. Then you want to give that a nice little whisk just to make sure everything is incorporated before we go in with our wet ingredients. To a separate bowl, I'm adding 2 cups of sugar. I'm adding 4 eggs. I'm adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And I'm just mixing all of that together. Also, I'm going to be adding 1 cup of melted butter. I haven't added it yet, but I just want to let you guys know. You want to let your butter come back to room temperature after you melt it. You don't want to put scalding hot butter into this mixture over top of your eggs. And I know I didn't mention this to you guys, but this is a big pan of brownies. This is like a double recipe. You could always cut this recipe in half if this is too much for you. But this recipe is going to be perfect, especially going into the holidays. You can customize it any way. But I'm just stirring up this mixture now, these wet ingredients. I got to get that butter all stirred in. You have to really give it some elbow grease though, because you want that butter incorporated. You don't want it sitting on top of your sugar mixture. There we go. So that is what it should look like when it's all incorporated. Now you just want to get your dry ingredients and you just pour those right over top of your wet ingredients. And then give it a stir. There is no need to be pulling down the electric mixer for this. You can if you want to, but I just did it all by hand. It was super easy. Just give that a good stir. Make sure everything is incorporated. Look at how thick and delicious that looks. I know I am a chocolate lover. I could lick that spoon, but I won't. I'll leave that to the kids. So you can see how good and fudgy this batter looks. It looks so delicious. It's glossy. It looks amazing. And so after that, after everything's incorporated, you don't want to overmix it, but you shouldn't really see any flour, any lumps, anything like that. Then you want to go in with 1 cup of chocolate chips, and this is optional, but I highly recommend it because it's going to add just another layer of chocolatey goodness to these brownies. And so just fold those in. At this point, you want to make sure your pan is prepped. So I have a 9x13. Then I went ahead and put my brownie batter, and then I topped half of it with nuts. I'm not a big nuts lover on my brownies, but I did that for my husband. So here, what you guys are watching is me making the caramel sauce. So this is just 1 cup of sugar over medium heat, and I'm stirring this because you have to let the sugars melt. And when the sugar melts, what it's going to do is going to start crystallizing and coming together and getting very clumpy. Keep going because you want it all to just continue to melt. As you can see, it slowly starts to darken. Those sugar crystals begin to liquefy, and you can smell it. It smells really good when you make this. So there is my caramel now. It's completely, the sugar is completely melted, and then at this point you add your butter. So I added in 6 tablespoons of butter to this mixture. When you do this though, you really should be using a whisk. I didn't want to use a whisk because that's a non-stick pan, and so I opted to use just a silicone spatula. But you really should have like a silicone whisk because you want to make sure that you're stirring everything. Um, Also, be very careful that you don't burn it, you guys. I kind of messed up on this caramel, but it was still good. It still tasted delicious, but you just have to really watch it because by this time that you're adding your butter in, you should be turning that heat off. I did not turn the heat off. I was doing several things. I was multitasking, so that's why I kind of messed up on it. But it still looked good, and you'll see. So mix all that butter in, give it a mix, 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 mix. Keep adding. I know it looks like a lot of butter, but that was a lot of sugar that I used. So after everything's incorporated, at this point, you want to just add your cream. I had a half a cup of half and half. I didn't have cream. I didn't have heavy cream. I used what I had on hand, which is fine. Just know that if you use half and half instead of cream, your caramel is going to be a little bit looser. It's not going to be as thick. And you guys, you see, I still have my caramel bubbling. At this point, your oven really should be, your stove should be off. But look at the final product. It still turned out pretty good. You see that thickness, and it was so good. I added some salt to it. It was amazing. My children loved it, and it had such a rich caramel flavor. It really tasted like classic salted caramel. So that's the final, and you can add that to anything. So these are my brownies, and so here is my final product. I'm so proud of it. Homemade brownies with homemade caramel sauce. It was so delicious. I hope you guys enjoy and try this. You said you wanted brownies, didn't you?
Yeah, you gonna ruin my appetite for dinner.
Just taste it.
Why do you put caramel on mine?
Good.
Just take a bite. Don't eat all of it. It will ruin your appetite.
Mom, why do you put caramel on mine?
Is it good? You like the black walnut? That's strong.
That's strong. Well, it's good in there.